us from Oklahoma City. You were there at the game, Alabama, Oklahoma. We were talking during the break just a moment ago. Your thoughts on the game? You had a single question like, hey, what line of demarcation do you want to talk about? The one before or the one after? Let's get it from a chronological perspective. What you thought there in the early going, and then of course Alabama tying the game up at 17, and then pushing the gas after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically a dream start for OU. And, coming into the game, it was kind of like, oh, well, they beat them the last two times. Can they do it again? And you just start off that way and you're like, holy cow, like Kalen DeBoer's kryptonite might just be Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to lie, I had thoughts about what I was going to be doing on New Year's Eve in Los Angeles. Um, and then those were quickly dashed. So yeah, no, it's just kind of crazy because we've talked about how great this OU defense has been, and they got staked a 17-0 lead and lost. I mean, obviously you can blame John Mateer for the pick six, but that was only part of their 34 points that they scored. So it was just really shocking to see the way they started that game and then just kind of the collapse from there.
Mm-hmm.
And really the only thing that saved them was 50 Cent coming out between the third and fourth quarter, and that was pretty cool. And Deion Burke scored a touchdown like 2 plays after that. So, you were like, okay, maybe 50 Cent saved the season. Maybe it's, they're going to get it going. And, the next time OU got the ball back, I was like, they need to have him come out again before this drive to get him hype again. And he didn't come back out, and OU didn't score again.
So if you're Jim Nagy and Brent Venables, where do you go from here? Because, I mean, you just basically gave up a 17-point lead. As you mentioned, you were already thinking about, hey, I might be in Pasadena next week. And then
he was already ordering an In-N-Out
burger.
He
was already, yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm going to pick out some of my Rose Bowl merch that I'm going to pick up next week. And then
what time does the Rose Bowl parade start again?
Exactly. And now it's just like, how did this just happen? How did our Lou Groza Award winner miss 2 field goals to end the game? One ended up coming short. Like, where do you go from here if you're Oklahoma?
Yeah, the Sandell missing the field goals just kind of felt like, because he was on the super long streak. I think he got up to 24 after making one early in the game.
Yeah.
And you kind of just had the feeling like that he was going to miss eventually. It's probably not just going to finish the rest of his career perfect. And so, I had heard it from some people. They're kind of joking that like, oh, I hope he would miss one against like Missouri or LSU and get it out of his system before potentially the playoffs. But yeah, that was kind of a weird one, but it also just kind of encapsulates, what happened in that game where OU just fell apart. And, their special teams had been their strong suit all year, whether it was Grayson Miller, punting and pinning teams back deep and letting the defense really go to work, or, the offense just scraping by enough yards to get across midfield and Sandell making a field goal. And both of them just didn't deliver. Grayson Miller obviously had the dropped punt, then got it blocked, which was a pretty critical moment. And then his couple of his other punts just weren't quite as good as we've become accustomed to watching him kind of pin teams back. And then it just kind of felt like, the perfect end to the game for how kind of miserable it ended up being after the 17-0 lead. Just like, all right, well, yeah, I guess that would happen. Sandell misses 2 field goals to end the game and everything. But yeah, going forward, now the big question is, does John Mateer come back or not?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an interesting question, because if you're a person just looking at his numbers, his stats from this season, you'd be going, well, obviously he's coming back. He's not going to the NFL. But, Mateer had been on NFL radars before coming into this season. And I think probably a lot of teams will look at the fact that he broke his thumb and played through it with that, tape on his thumb the whole time. And this was the first game he had played without all of that tape,
Mm-hmm.
the bandages on his thumb. And I mean, he came out and he looked really good. Obviously he had the pick six that was just kind of a weird mistake, but outside of that, I mean, I thought he played really well. It was potentially probably his best game of the season, just in terms of like passing the ball. And so the NFL, it's there. And I saw something the other day. It was a Mel Kiper Jr.'s, kind of quarterback rankings list, and they had him as the fourth best quarterback available in this draft. And
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know that Mel Kiper speaks for everybody, but if that's kind of the consensus that he's there as a top 5 quarterback, I think you have to really consider that if you're John Mateer, because I think next year's quarterback class will probably have a few more guys in it to be a little bit more loaded. Do you want to take your chances going now and maybe you kind of sneak in as a late first round, early second round draft pick, or, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even know. Maybe he sneaks up and into the middle of the first round. Who knows? Once the combine comes around and people get kind of more of a look and everything. But yeah, that's really where it will start for OU is whether John Mateer comes back, and if he doesn't, then what? Is Michael Hawkins your guy? They redshirted him this year, and is he who you want to give the keys to the offense to next year, or do they go portal hunting? I mean, there's about 500 quarterbacks in the transfer portal right now, so you have your options there, what you want to do, and then you kind of start to build from there. You got to get some pass catchers for whoever is going to be playing quarterback, and that's really where it kind of starts. I expect most of the defense to be back. You have a few guys that are going to be going. Linebacker is going to be kind of their area where they're getting hit the hardest.
I saw
just
McKenzie
from graduation
enter the portal.
and Kobe McKenzie hitting the portal. So Owen Heineke's trying to get another year of eligibility, but he's not very optimistic the NCAA is going to grant it to him, which I don't know if you guys know. He played lacrosse at Ohio State. That's where he started his career, and then he transferred to OU to play football. So
the opposite of Tyler
counting.
Yeah, exactly.
They're counting his lacrosse year against his eligibility. And
are they really?
So they're hoping to get that fixed, but they're not very optimistic about it.
Yeah.
So you lose Kendall Daniels, you lose Kobe McKenzie, Owen Heineke, Kip Lewis is probably going to the draft. So you're pretty bare there in the linebacker room. That kind of seems to be where, I think the two signal callers on both sides, the linebacker group and quarterback, those are really where it's going to come down to this offseason is what's going to be left and what do you have to go do in the portal at that point.
No question about it. We'll get your thoughts on the season overall and get your grade here in a heartbeat. But first, let's hear from Coach Brent Venables after the season came to an end.
Yeah, don't let anybody on the outside, put limitations on you, what we can and can't become. And it matters about what we believe. It matters, the work that we put into it. And I think, again, the strain, the love, the sacrifice, the work, the talent, I think there's lots of layers to all of it. I think our staff has recruited incredibly well. I think that showed again this season. I thought that was a kind of a foundational piece. I thought we brought in good players through the portal that helped us have the kind of season that we needed. And then I thought culturally speaking, I think I was as pleased with that piece as well. Everything starts with me when it comes to being a tone setter, the things that are important, our standards, the things that we value, the things that we're going to be about, the things that we're willing to tolerate and not tolerate, the type of people that we recruit, and then what we nurture every single day. Because if you're going to do it the right way and for something that, has, lasts longer than, just, this moment, then you have to nurture it every single day. And then, the people make the place at the end of the day. And I think we have incredible people in this building, both players and coaches. And again, I'm just incredibly proud of the group of guys that both are returning and especially the ones that are exiting.
So Coach Venables saying basically all the right things about, honoring the seniors and really, saying that this team had a kind of a mental fortitude going into the year. Given now that the season's over, what's your overall take on this year's team? They endure so much, and I think my grade is probably forgiving. I'm grading on a curve as it relates to everything. What would your grade be in just some of the ways that this team either met or failed to meet expectations?
Well, I think the grade has to be an A, whether you go just leave it at an A or a minus or a plus. But, when you take everything into account, I would give this team an A+. I mean, going into the season, what I thought was the ceiling for this team was 9 wins and you flirt with the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And they obviously exceeded that. They won 10 games. They went to the college football playoff, hosted a game. I mean, where they were at last year, Venables, coming off a second 6-7 season in 3 years. And, you're basically having to completely restart on the offensive side of the ball. You bring in a 30-year-old offensive coordinator and a quarterback that came from Washington State, where you're kind of wondering, hey, can they do it in the SEC at this level? And it wasn't always pretty, but I mean, the fact that they won 10 games, they went to the playoff, I think you have to give this an A+ on the season, because I don't think anybody was truly expecting this going into the season. If you would have told anybody, oh, OU's going to win 10 games, they're going to make the playoff, a lot of people probably would have said, oh, you're smoking something or whatever. Like, that's not going to happen. But it did. And credit to Venables and the staff, the players, because, I mean, it did look a little bleak after losing the Ole Miss game at home. Right. You had at Alabama, at Tennessee on the rest of the schedule. You kind of thought, well, maybe they'll go 8-4 or something like that. And no, they won those 2 games on the road, and this is a heck of a season for them. And I think it's already paying dividends on the recruiting trail. And I think it'll help them in the portal too. Like, hey, look what we were able to accomplish this year. We won 10 games. Our offense wasn't even that amazing. If we could get a couple more players, imagine what we can do. I mean, you have this defense behind you. You have Venables as the mastermind of the defense. If you have that behind you, why would you not want to come play, offense there? I mean, the pressure is essentially off you. Some places, like back in the Lincoln Riley days, it was, the offense had to go and win you games. The offense had to go and win you games. So there's a lot of pressure. You had to keep scoring points. This team here, I mean, if you average 24, 28 points, you're going to be winning a lot of games.
I tell you what, you talked about this might spark something on the transfer portal trail. You got to find a running back that's actually going to play this next year instead of Jaden Knott. And we played this of where's Waldo game of Jaden Knott. And I mean that's probably one place to start. So that way it's not like if John Mateer does come back and it's basically him or nothing with this offense. But putting all of your sorrows and frowns aside here, there were 3 more games on Saturday. What did you make of the rest of the slate, and should the G5 still be in the playoff next year?
It started, the two best games were the 2 first games of the playoff. Correct. The one Friday night and the one Saturday morning. And I mean, hats off to JMU. They put up, some points. Yeah. More than you can really say about Tulane. So that was nice by them. I think as long as you're going to keep the format like this, you have to include the G5, and it's really just the ACC's fault for not having a conference for letting Duke be in your conference championship game. It's their fault. Wouldn't have happened if you just let Miami go to the conference championship game. They win, they're in. Then you don't have to worry about the whole Notre Dame debate, and you get all of your teams in, and whoever, Tulane or James Madison in, and it's fine. I don't hate the group of 5 being in there in this current format, but I would like to see just a complete separation of just Power 4 only. All of the teams that are in the Power 4, that's separate. Because, I mean, Tulsa is in our state, and if you're a Tulsa fan, wouldn't you like to have a chance to ever win a championship? I mean, there's just no way you could ever win a championship right now. You can't, sure, on the off years, I mean, you can beat OSU when they're down, whatever. But at some point, I think you'd like to win a championship and compete for one. And I just don't know that the group of 5, this the way that college football has shaken out, college athletics, it feels like there's just not really a chance there. Because you can get those Cinderella runs still in basketball because you don't need as many players. But in football, there's so many players. You have to spend so much money to be able to compete. And I just feel like the group of 5 teams, they should want to win a championship, and maybe we have our FCS championship, our Group of 5 championship, and then the Power 4 championship.
Right,
And
right.
I don't think anybody's too upset about that. But I also would just like to see our conferences go to like a smaller number, and you have better games. Like the
Right.
fact that you end up at the end of the season and you're like, well, OU and Georgia have never played each other, or you
Right.
just end up where you're like, okay, you're trying to measure teams based off of certain data points that
Right.
like, well, we never got to see Texas play Alabama. We don't actually, who would actually be the better team if it comes down to Texas and Alabama? Well, they didn't play, so we don't know. Like OU, Alabama, we knew OU was the better team in the regular season.
Right.
They beat them on the road. So that's why you got them as the 8 seed, the 9 seed. It's just I'm tired of the mega conferences. I'd rather you have 10 games, you're 10 conference teams, and you play every single team in that league, and you play, another,
Right.
you play 2 other Power 4 teams, and then maybe you get a Group of 5 team. I think we're missing out on really great college football because there's just ends up being too many boring games where you're like, I don't really want to watch Ohio State blow out Rutgers for the,
Yeah, and there's that.
70th time in the history of college football or
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Absolutely.
and that was kind of the thing with OU and the Big 12 too, was like kind of getting tired of blowing out Kansas and, beating Iowa State and,
Right.
Baylor and Texas Tech and everything like that. So the SEC, provided the challenge of that, but I would like it to be more regionalized, and you play everybody in your conference, and then there you go. But that's just me on my soapbox. So nobody cares what
I think
a
lot of people
So-
would want that, and it kind of feels like there's no putting toothpaste back in the tube, and these super leagues will
Yeah.
be super leagues from there moving forward. Holden, thank you so much for your time. I know you got a chance to
thank
enjoy
you.
it before the game, not necessarily during the game, but hey, you had the Thunder to keep you afloat, keep you busy from here on out.
Yeah, we've got college basketball too. We've got
Exactly.
a couple games. The OU women already played today. They won, beat North
Nice.
Carolina
Nice.
Central,
Yeah.
which means we're just getting closer to conference play, and we can stop talking about these cupcake opponents that
I
mean
know.
nothing.
We'll look forward to it
So-
next week, and we'll catch up with you then. Holden, thank you so much. Have a
All
Merry
right.
Christmas, my man.
See you guys. Merry Christmas.